Season 3 of the UnTold Truth. This one's different. This isn't about the stories anymore. It's about transformation. It's about what happens after the pain, after the setbacks, after the moments nobody else sees. The UnTold Truth is the space where real people have real conversations about healing, about growth and purpose, and becoming who you were always meant to be. This season, we're going deeper, more honesty, more perspective, and more truth. Because at the end of the day, it only takes each one to reach one to teach one. And your story, it might be the one that changes everything.
Welcome back to the UnTold Truth. I'm your host, Joshua Brinkley. And today I have Kelvin McNeil with me. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Long time no see.
Like, too long.
That's what's up, man. So, you know how we do. We will start with this bio. The whole point of the UnTold Truth is to talk about getting better in life, overcome what you've been going through, what you have been through. That's what the UnTold Truth is about. Kelvin McNeil is a former Division I athlete whose journey is rooted in discipline, resilience, and evolution beyond the game. He began his collegiate career at the University of Delaware, where he appeared in 83 games for the Blue Hens. During his time there, Kelvin established himself as a physical and dependable presence on the court. However, his journey was far from easy. He endured 4 surgeries while at Delaware, testing his mental toughness, patience, and commitment to the game. Despite these setbacks, he continued to persevere, contributing on both ends of the floor while earning his degree in sports management. Seeking a new opportunity, Kelvin transferred to UNC Greensboro, where his impact elevated, playing all 31 games and earning his first letter. He led the team with 6.4 rebounds per game, ranking among the top rebounders in the Southern Conference. He recorded multiple double-doubles, including standout performances against programs like Virginia Tech, Rutgers, NC State, and Elon, proving his ability to compete at a high level consistently. Following his collegiate career, Kelvin took his talents overseas, playing 2 professional seasons in France, where he continued to grow as a player and as a man while experiencing the global side of the game. His foundation was built in Virginia, competing at Mentionville High School and Massanutten Military Academy, where he developed into a well-rounded athlete known for his effort, versatility, and leadership. Today, Kelvin is a dedicated husband, father, and solutions architect, applying the same principles for basketball, discipline, accountability, and consistency into professional career and family life. His journey is a powerful example of what it means to transition, evolve, and find purpose beyond the court. What's going on today, Kelvin? How you doing?
Man, chilling, bro. It's good to see you.
Good to bring you too, man.
Man.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It was great to have a reason to pull up on you in Richmond.
Yeah,
L City.
yes. My man. Yes,
Shit,
sir.
you're having me.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. Kelvin is a guy that I have known for quite some time now. Dating back to what, maybe 2000,
2007, 2008.
yeah, it's been a minute. So, and we'll kind of dive into that, how we met and stuff like that. But first things first, Kelvin, where you from? Where you grew up at? What part of town are you from? What city you from?
Yeah, I'd say no more, man. Well, I represent Newport News, Virginia. 7x7, but I'm a military brat. So that whole area is filled of transplants, primarily because of the military. My father did 20 years in the Army. Mom's was 16 years in the Army. So we did a lot of sticking and moving. I lived overseas, Arizona, California, Texas. My pops retired in Virginia when I was in middle school, and that's kind of where I really grew up.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I remember you coming from a military background, and Kelvin is kind of a goofy guy, but at the same time, he carried that seriousness with him too. They come from that military background. Tell me about your, growing up in the 757. How was it there? What challenges that you may have faced growing up in the 757?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, growing up in the 7x7 was definitely like I'm not gonna say a culture shock, because, living on base, living overseas, I'm not gonna say you're blind to what's going on,
Yeah.
but when I first got to Newport News, I had to line out on this one, but like it had to be a week, 2 weeks into middle school, and somebody in my class was getting arrested. But you know what I mean? Like a handcuff coming out of the school.
Yeah.
What's the same middle school as Allen Iverson? Okay, Hines Middle School. So it was just it was a wild experience.
Yeah.
You know, long story short, and then just kind of seeing like huge economic disparities amongst, I'll say, like military families and like, you know, families that were, you know, really from trenches out there. But, you know, the type of person I was, I really didn't think about none of that. You know, I was probably in places I shouldn't have been, you know, but you know, I feel like my energy, you know, positive attitude, like the fact that I could hoop, you know, I was able to kind of move in the city.
So did you go overseas, like for middle school? Were you overseas or
So that was when I was younger.
were you super?
Yeah. So I was in England when I was like from 8 to 11.
Okay.
And then came back to the States. I was in Arizona for 6th grade. And then towards the end of 6th grade, it was a year-round school over there. But when I got back here to Virginia, I ended up having to do like part of 6th grade over, and then 7th grade, 8th grade, et cetera. Okay. So that was kind of like overseas. I was much younger.
Yeah. So you know, kind of transitioned to different types of living. I mean, how was it overseas, like living over there? Do you remember that?
I definitely remember that. I mean, you know, my mom and dad weren't like officers.
Okay.
So they were enlisted. So I would say like I was like a lower tier
Yeah.
in the military, on that military standard. So, you know, me and my brother, we shared a room, you know, on base kind of growing up. We lived in a very like small base house.
Yeah.
You know, from growing up, I thought we had, you know, a whole lot, you know, and was doing really well, et cetera. But like looking back, it was definitely like, you know, a grind for my parents to be able to provide anything for us. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, the overseas experience was definitely solid. It was just, I think going back to basketball wise, like the competition was definitely nowhere near what it was over there versus in the States.
I got you.
When I was playing over there, like I thought I was like number one. I was gonna be Brad Pitt. That's all I say, kill it. And then I got back to Arizona. I was still cooking on the West Coast, but when you step foot in, you know, on the East Coast, you know, 7x7, Richmond, the DMV area, like that basketball is different. Because I learned real quick, like, yeah, I'm nice, but like, there's a whole lot of other kids that's nice too around here. Yeah, period. Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely like a shock basketball wise too.
Yeah. That sounds like the same type of transition when you go from high school to college, for sure. It's like a culture shock, but at the same time, the great ones going to succeed. Sure, though. We're going to find a way.
Sure.
So transitioning to back over to the 757, remind me of the high school you went to again.
Over to Bishop High School, freshman through junior year, and then my senior year transferred to Massanutten Military Academy.
Okay. What was, I'm guessing your senior year was your best year, or maybe your junior year? What was your?
Definitely, I feel like when it comes to high school, which is, everybody says they wish they can like redo college.
Yeah.
Like I wish I can redo high school.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just for basketball. It's like, you know, playing in the 7-5, and I'm sure how I was playing in, you know, Richmond, like that 07 year, you know, our team was like one of the best in the state. I think we went like I think we lost one game in our district. We were district champions, you know, Christmas tournament champions. We lost in the regional final to go to the state, to, I think it was Border T, and they ended up winning the states that year. But like high school, and like you shoot a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah, dumb.
It ain't like that no more.
It's not bad. That's crazy.
It's still like that down there?
I don't know. But I say that to say like when I was in high school, we was in high school, like we sold out every home game my junior year.
Yeah.
Sold out every home game. Okay. Like, so I say that to say like I played okay, but I wish I can go back to my junior year when our team was nice and like redo. Oh my goodness, have a redo and really put in some work, and you know, that was still a fun year.
Yeah.
Even though I was a role player on a really good team.
So first time I met you it wasn't, through high school, obviously. When it comes to conferences, high school doesn't go down that far, right? Unless a bigger high school maybe. But we met on the AAU circuit. It remind me again where we met. Had to be in Myrtle Beach, and I remember it was so funny because by the time I got to Delaware, I was like, I met Kel before I got here, right? And now I see him, we in the same position. I've always looked up to you, Kel.
Oh man, I do say that's vice versa.
Yeah. So, it was, with you being a little bit older than me too, I was like, man, I guess I'm doing it. And I see Kelvin, I walk in, I see Kelvin, tall, lanky, and but when it comes to us first meeting, tell me about the team that you played for with AAU, and how did AAU kind of help you, get to that next level?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I ended up playing for I would say a makeshift team, my 17U team year. It was a bunch of us that had played with Boo, 14, 15, 16. Come 17, Boo bringing in guys from all over, fell out all over the world for but I'm sure it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's probably 15 of us, that 14 of us that then ended up making the 18. So we kind of spun off and we had a secondary makeshift team, but it was but I say that to say all 14 of us ended up playing Division I basketball, so it was still a good team. But for sure, but yeah, we ended up doing a little makeshift team. Our coach Ed Huckabee used to coach at Hampton University and at Wright State.
Yeah.
So he knew a lot of folks, and that was our team. But I definitely remember pulling up on y'all at Myrtle Beach and your teams.
Yeah.
Super stack, yeah.
We and did we beat y'all or
Y'all beat us the first game. Boy, then we beat y'all in the
tournament? The tournament, right? Yeah. I remember y'all being really good, and I think the one time when we beat y'all, that's kind of the game I went crazy. Yeah. So I remember that, and I remember you just stand out, and so I've always thought it was a cool story that being on the lap we got it full circle type of thing.
For sure.
Yeah, it's kind of dope. But
Sure, I remember you had the LeBrons on back then. This for real. You crazy bones.
yeah, and some things don't change.
For sure.
Yeah, but speaking on, I guess we could transition to going to Delaware. What was that like for you as far as the recruiting process, and where did your offers come from?
Well, definitely I'll go to who else was in the picture. So Winthrop, East Carolina, FAMU, a lot of people know this, but Harvard came in late and was recruiting me. They had actually ended up snagging one of my AAU teammates, Key Wright, but he didn't play against him in the Myrtle Beach tournament, but he was on another team with me the year before. But he ended up going to Harvard to play for Tommy Amaker, and they were recruiting me late. Virginia Tech was recruiting me for the class of 2009. I was 08, so they wanted me to do the postgraduate year, either JUCO or postgraduate year.
Okay.
And then West Virginia, Bob Huggins was coming in super late as well. They also wanted me to do a postgrad year. But I had a lot of mid-majors, Old Dominion, Hampton, Norfolk State, all the local ones.
Yeah.
But Delaware for me was definitely something that was Coach Ross at the time was just, I feel like he had built the best relationship with my mom. But,
He's good at that.
He really is. Yeah. And he's a great recruiter. And I think he's a still solid guy, He's just, and, as him being a black man and a black head coach, that also stood out at the time too, because it wasn't I feel like it wasn't a lot of black head coaches at that particular time. So I got a black head coach recruiting me to a solid academic school. Yeah, great relationship with my mom. Went up there on my visit, and I was supposed to be setting up a visit to go on official to Harvard afterwards, FAMU, and East Carolina. And I ended up committing on my visit to Delaware. I felt like, looking back, I was probably pressured. Oh, Miss Short, you know what I mean? And I feel like my family was just like rookies in the game. But they're like, they ain't know nothing. Like they go on this visit, hotel taken care of, we eating at a nice restaurant. They getting treated like celebrity. I'm getting treated good. They like, what you mean you want to wait? You not going? It was like, all right, I'm gonna put like I'll come here. So I feel like, but my son or my daughter were to go through that experience. Like we got the experience now where it's like
We got to take business.
like, I appreciate you gonna see this. This gonna be the same act is gonna be repeated on every visit you take. So we gonna choose the best school, not just by the show that they putting on, but like play style, academics. Now money's in the equation. Yeah. So it was a whole lot more that factors into it, but yeah. But Delaware was still beautiful. It was a beautiful campus. I feel like that's what sold me. I pulled up on them in the summer. I put up on them in the winter, or for sure not committed. But I pulled up on them late in the summer, right before the school started. Like I remember, Edwin was there, DJ was there, Jawan was there working at the gym, DJ and Edwin in the weight room. Like the campus was just beautiful. It's super beautiful campus. Still is worth that here for sure. It's on the line upside it down. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So that's definitely what got me. I was like, boy, whoa, this campus nice. And the whole, like, if you don't go to Delaware, you don't know, but like the whole city of Newark is the Delaware campus. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like it's a small little school tucked away in a big city, but like the whole town city is UD. Yeah.
That's what kind of sold me too, because same thing kind of happened to me, and I talked about this before in other episodes. But I committed fairly quickly I didn't take any business. I'm new to the game too. It's just me and my mom. I'm the first athlete to go to visual. In the family, as far as I know of, for sure. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this joint look crazy. I'm on a visit. I go out with Adam Pig.
I remember you on your visit.
Yeah. So we had a ball, but then when I got back to the crib, I'm thinking like, I ain't going nowhere else. Let me try to figure this thing out. So I went up to Quinnipiac, another mid major in Connecticut, solid school with the Hampton University, down here in Virginia. I knew I didn't want to go to, stay in Virginia.
You would have killed Hampton.
That would have killed Hampton. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I decommitted.
Wow.
Yeah, I decommitted, and then I took those business, and then I ended up going back to Delaware. But the reason why that was is because, again, like you said, didn't experience nothing else.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made the choice to eventually go to Delaware. I know there was the transition after that, but we'll dive into that later. While at Delaware, walk me through your time at Delaware. Any challenges you faced? I know me and you were kind of. Let me rephrase this. We're not injury prone.
Yeah.
What we are is I'll let you kind of talk about it, but me and you were hurt a lot, at Delaware, and so talk to me about those challenges that you face. Any challenges with your coaches? Talk about that a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, I think for me, my biggest challenge at Delaware was really like I arrived on campus, 175 pounds.
Yeah.
So
soaking wet,
right? So immediately, I think that like back then there was a huge push in college basketball, 2008, 2009, to like be bigger and be stronger, but not be faster and athletic, agile. It was like let's get in. Like LeBron was, really taking over the league. I feel like everybody had that same like kind of LeBron syndrome, where it's like we need to be big and strong. But there ain't a whole lot of LeBrons for a reason. But so my freshman year at Delaware, I ended up coming in somewhat early, started working out with the team. As soon as the school year starts, we have a pickup game, and to go for a rebound, it was a freak accident where Ed ended up grabbing a rebound or trying to snatch a rebound from from the left side of me, and ended up pulling my arm back, and it click. Like mom went straight up for the rebound. I had the ball in one hand, he had my arm in the other, and I think he was trying to snatch it down this way, and ended up just basically snapping my shoulder out of place. And immediately I knew something was wrong because I had never been injured before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So immediately I'm like, I can't even lift up my arm without a sharp pain being sent from like my side all the way up to my neck.
Yeah.
And that was the first day of pickup, you know, when the school year started. So next thing you know, 2 weeks into the school year, I'm waking up in the surgery room.
Wow. So it happened that quickly.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, it was real quick. And then, you know, and then me being working to the game, I didn't even know what a red shirt was. So I'm thinking like, man, I only got 3 more discipline. It's crazy. Like, I got to get back out here on the court. Coach sat me down, like explained, like, you're going to have a medical red shirt here. You'll start your freshman year next year. You know, I thought that was a curse. You know, the long story short, got hurt, went through the whole rehab process. Came back towards the tail end of the year, being able to practice with the team, get a little bit better. And I could slowly continue putting on weight. I played the end of my freshman year, I was probably like 205. Okay. So we go from 175 to 205. And that's probably in 1 year, that's probably where I should have stayed. But, you know, to be completely honest, I was moving well, still strong, still had some bounce to my game. And then going into my sophomore year, academically, freshman year, basketball-wise, came off the bench for a couple of games and ended up starting at the point guard position. Guess Brian Johnson had tore his ACL.
6'8" at the point guard, right? Johnny.
But we had a really talented team. Yeah, they did. Our coach was able to kind of load up on the height. Me at 6'7", 6'8" at the point. You know, we had Juwan 2, Fonzo 3, you at the 4, Adam Pegg, Jamel. Like the rotations were extremely solid. It was solid. You know what I mean? And we, you know, we weren't shooting well, but like as a team, we were defending well, and we had options. But then against Georgia State right before, or like in the middle of conference play, it was actually one of my best games my freshman year too. Ended up driving to the hole, going out and landing kind of weird or wrong, and hearing my knee click. And you know, they did an X-ray. They didn't see anything in the X-ray. I'm still like trying to like fight through it, and then eventually they give me an MRI and realized I had broke a piece of my kneecap.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I broke a piece of my kneecap off, and it was like floating in between my knee and my patella and whatever else was going on in it. So I had to do a microscopic scope to like clear some stuff out.
Yeah.
And the knees still didn't heal. So I ended up having to have a second procedure done. Okay. Another microscopic surgery.
I remember this.
And PRP.
Yeah. Oh, that's broke. PRP is crazy.
No, for sure.
That joint hurt.
For sure. Yeah. So, you know, having 2 back-to-back procedures on the same knee, almost within like a 6 or 7 month span.
Yeah.
I feel like I then came back my junior year academically, sophomore year, basketball-wise, like unable to move. Like my mobility was gone, bounce was gone, you know, lateral quickness was gone. The only thing I had was, you know, a handle, no post game, no jump shot. I could pass a little bit, but I didn't have much to offer. So I feel like I just tried to like fight through, you know, helping the team however I could. My sophomore and junior year, and I feel like towards the tail end of my junior year, I slowly started to like feel like myself again.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still at that time I got all the way up to 250 pounds. Yeah, I remember seeing
you like that heavy.
I remember seeing 252 on the scale.
That's crazy.
At Delaware.
Yeah. That's way too heavy for your body, bro.
Way too heavy. So graduated, ended up, you know, having a very emotional breakdown with Coach Ross in his office. Coach Big East was there too, you know, letting know I wanted to transfer, but how much I appreciated them, you know, for my time at Delaware.
Yeah.
They could have treated, I mean, I think they could have treated me way worse or better, but at the end of the day, it was a business, and I still felt like they treated me as well as a man. You know what I mean? Through everything I was going through. And transferred to UNCG after that.
Yeah.
And the goal for at UNCG was to get me from sort of at UNCG at like 240 something. They were like, our goal is to get you down 215. So while the team is lifting weights, I'm running on a treadmill.
Right.
While the team is doing, core and like strength squat rack and bench press, like I'm swimming in the pool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, bro, like I'm back windmilling. I'm back, flushing stuff. Like I'm back running in and keeping up with everybody in suicide.
It's club and I know.
Yeah, man. So it felt good and you're back healthy.
Yeah.
And just play healthy. But even at UNCG, I'll say 19, 20 games into the season, I ended up straining my hip a little bit. So I ended up playing the latter portion of that season with a strained hip flexor. Where it was like, man, if I would have just had one more year to really get healthy after losing all this weight, but I feel like I had special power senior year.
Yeah. Now, mindset wise, how did all these injuries affect you? Because I know it's, I've talked to a couple of different athletes, and my thing is, I'm starting to hear that it's never like the work to get back, right? It's always the mental. So how did that affect your mental?
Yeah, I mean mentally for sure. Like I feel like at Delaware, I definitely went through like, again, I didn't know it at the time, but I definitely went through like some dark times of like probably like minor depression. Where I didn't necessarily want to go out with the team or didn't want to do a whole lot of stuff. I had a girlfriend at the time, and we would be going through little stuff. So like I feel like I was going through a lot mentally. Man, mental health wasn't really something like at the forefront at that time. Yeah. But yeah, man, I definitely it made me realize like basketball is finite. And then two, it made me realize like, all right, I need to start to focus on school just a little bit. Yeah. I went to Delaware, I didn't know what major was. I mean, major, minor. What's that? Like, we not all taking the same classes?
No, I think had a question about that. Right, this is all that's new to me.
Exactly.
I had a question about that though. How was your grades in high school?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like, I was taking classes that I shouldn't have taken. Like, so when I was in high school, like, I could have probably took honors courses, and did just fine, but I was taking regular courses and, getting A's and B's.
Yeah.
Like chilling. But like I come home and drop my book bag off. Like as soon as I walk in the front door, the book bag gets dropped off and I pick up the book bag the next day. Every day.
Because you outside running around,
But whatever. Every day. You know what I mean? So like it was no homework. It was no challenging me in high school. I would show up to class and take the test, do exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
Because I was taking easy, I guess they call them like regular
classes. Yeah. They're easier, but I was in the slower classes. Hey, look, the reason why I bring this up though is because I had to do SCP. I'm guessing you didn't have to do SCP to get, but the SCP is that student educational plans. When you have a certain GPA in high school, to get into a really good academic school like Delaware, that was top 100 academically there. You had to take that, you basically had to go to summer school or have you to get into Delaware. But that's why I asked that question.
So I probably would have if I would say to Mitchell. Okay. But because I went to National Military Academy,
they tighten you up.
They tightened me up. I pretty much got all A's there. And some of the courses I was taking were like college preparatory course. Even they were still easy. Yeah. Also plus at Master No, we had nothing else to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like it's a boarding school. Like we are on campus. We finish school at noon. We go to school from like 8 to noon, 9 to noon.
Okay.
And then we would go eat lunch, and then we would have study hall. or an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You knock out all the work. There's no cell phones.
Yeah.
There's no TV.
Yeah.
So you just knocking out the day, nothing else to do but do your work.
Yeah.
And then we got our first practice around like 2:30. And you got a break, eat, and you're going back to the gym at 7 for your second practice. So that
You doing school and basketball.
school and basketball. So I ended up probably I probably ended up graduating high school like a 3.3, 3.4 GPA.
Not bad.
Yeah. But I went to Mass and I went with like a 3.
Okay. So I mean, you proved my point. Kelvin's a very smart guy. Kelvin's a smart guy, man. And my thing is when it comes to going back to the whole get hurt thing, for sure. It's always that grind back, because the physical part is for me was the easiest. I got hurt every year. And I fought back though, for that fight for that starting position.
Yeah, for sure. Every year though, because you used to miss the conference tournament every year.
Yeah, damn near. And so, but that mindset thing, I always encourage other people. Again, no matter what has happened to you, what you may have gone through, it's very important to bounce back. And you're a prime example of that.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Like I got you.
Yeah, I'm there. So speak more on your time at UNCG.
Man, my time at UNCG was
It was lit.
it was dope. It was dope because I think the dope part about UNCG was like, one, I was going there as like the old head.
Okay.
Like I was a 5th year senior.
Yeah.
So the team was young. It was like freshmen, sophomores. You know what I mean? Like they knew the game. Like I done already been through it several times.
Mhm.
But I think the kicker for me was like going from Delaware. Delaware was dope, but like it was like your own little campus in your own little city. UNCG was in Greensboro. You got North Carolina A&T, like 3-4 miles down the road. Yeah, historically black, university. You got Bennett College, which is an all girls, historically black university. You got Guilford College.
Yeah.
Down over like UNCG was like a college hub.
That's crazy.
2
girls' joints?
Beautiful weather.
Yeah, I bet.
Beautiful, the weather. And I mean, I live in North Carolina now, but like, I remember I went down there with like 5 or 6 coats. You know what I mean? On the Delaware.
You don't need that.
Brian wear a coat the whole townhouse at UNCG. I'm like, this is crazy. So the weather, fire, beautiful women. And I was in a master's degree program. So my classes were at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And they were like on like Monday and Wednesday. That was it.
That's it.
So
That's crazy.
I mean? I was sleeping in. I was in the gym. I was working out. I was running around. I'm on, North Carolina A&T's campus, walking around midday, chill. Like, bro, I got practice at, like, all right, we got to work out at, 3. I'm on A&T's campus at,
11 a.m.
to the end. I'm walking around my campus, chilling, like, for sure. For sure, we going out, as a team partying on Thursdays. That like, I think another major difference between Greensboro and Delaware was like we didn't have like Delaware was a very like a bar house party, traditional camp.
Keeps jumping off the top of the house.
Exact.
Funneling the beer from the top of the house. Yeah, that joint was crazy.
Right. And it was super fun too as well. Had some great times at Delaware, but like UNCG was more like, or Greensboro in general was more like a Richmond vibe.
Yeah, I got you.
Like a Virginia Beach vibe, Charlotte vibe. Yeah, man, like it was, it was close. Future. Like it was,
The way, I got you.
it was a club, the Ultra. It was it was some house party stuff, but like it was more of a little bit, and I was 21 plus, so I was able to like make moves even some of my teammates weren't able to do. So I was making solo moves or moves with my teammate. He was from Chicago.
Talk about because of like the age difference.
Because of the age difference, yeah. So outside of basketball, UNCG in Greensboro was popping, and then on top of that, the basketball thing was like pop because I lost all this weight. Wes Miller was a really great coach. He let me rock. You want to bring the ball up again? Like bring the ball up. Yeah. You want to switch off on the pick and roll? Like your man goes says the pig, I'm a switch and guard the one or the two. They're like that freedom. You can move a little bit and defend on the defense. So like, and like I said, I recorded. I don't want to get the wrong number, but like it had to be during my 3 years at Delaware. I had 5 dunks. Yeah. My one season at UNCG, even while hurt, I had 26 dunks.
That's crazy.
In one season.
That tells a lot.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Physically, like moving different, blocking shots, rebounding. Shot poorly from the free throw line and still wasn't able to shoot like that at the time, but like played much better, impacted the game much better with that team.
You talking about that kind of before we started, and we alluded that too. Not being as heavy for sure. I myself was 250, 260 at 6'6". I'm stronger than everybody, but I can't move the way I need to. And by the end of the season, I'm getting hurt. So that's definitely important. The thing about basketball is you gotta be first of all skilled. You're on it. Gotta be able to move. You gotta be able to move. And with all the extra muscle on my back is too much. So what was the biggest difference from the Delaware and Greensboro?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this earlier. Was the women? You know what I mean? But like, I did end up meeting my wife. Out there at the club.
Okay.
Pulled up on her.
Yeah.
I mean, Deep Oyster. I mean, what's her name? You know what I mean? What's crazy about that situation was, so we met in the club. She ended up having like a couple of friends with her when I pulled up on her, and obviously this was like pre-DM, pre-internet dating vibes that are probably going on now. So like you had to speak to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled up on her, and she ended up telling her name. Like, what's your name? She was like, Ruth. I was like, what? RUTH. I was like, Ruth. I'm like, what type of name is that? Then I'm thinking about something like, oh, Snaps. That's my mom's middle name that I got tatted on my arm.
Oh, so is it? I never do that.
I pulled up my arm sleeve. I was like, Ruth, like RUTH. She was like, yeah, that's crazy.
That sounds great. That is crazy.
Yeah, so at the time, she ended up handing me her phone. I gave her my information. Her boyfriend was her screensaver at the time.
Yeah.
And, still got the number.
So wait, talk about. So you removed the middleman.
I saw the boyfriend. I could,
hey, scoot over, bro.
right, I'm like, we could plug in his number real quick.
Yeah.
But they ended up, talking or whatever. Still, dating at the time. But like when they finally like broke it off, she reached back out to me, and then we, I also at the same time had stopped talking to a couple girls that I was entertaining at UNCG, and was more so focused like, all right, I gotta like lock in, like I'm still trying to go overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up kind of like reconnecting that summer, and just kind of kept going from there.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to meet your wife and Miss Ruth. She's a very good person overall, but I think that's just who you are.
I appreciate that.
I remember we went to, what event was that? Dreamville. We went to Dreamville. Yeah, Dreamville was hilarious. We did Ross. Yes, that was what 3 years ago. It was like 3 or 4, but everybody wrong. Damn, wow, it's been that long. Yeah. That was a fun experience. That joint was crazy though.
It was.
It was crazy.
It was. I wish we could do that again. Like, yeah, I know they said they're going away, or they're not doing it no more.
They're not doing it no more.
Man, that was
a good time.
So
Yeah, for sure. Speaking on transitioning from UNCG, talk about your experience over in France.
Man, overseas was definitely, I'll split it into again, but like, lifestyle wise, it was difficult.
Yeah.
I went over there, and a lot of people don't know this, but like in France, they can care less about you not knowing French. Like they are speaking French,
Yeah, regardless.
And then it's not like in a lot of other countries, like I feel like the global language at the end of the day is English because of the dollar standard, right, and the amount of business that needs to take place in English. But over there, it's like
They don't care about that.
they don't care about none of that. We speak in French. We're not teaching our kids English. Everybody speaks French. Like if you don't speak French, like that's when you get out there. So I feel like the language barrier, the culture barrier around like how they thought of Americans was tough. And then I ended up playing my first year over there. I ended up getting to the season I ended up joining the team like towards the tail end of the season where they were just trying to stay in the league.
Oh, wow.
So like when you overseas, it's like, hey, if there's 18 teams in a division, the bottom 4 go down a division.
Oh, okay.
And the top 4 go up a division.
Okay.
And then everyone else stays in the division.
I got you.
So, I feel like they do that because it's like there's no tanking.
Yeah.
You're playing all year to try to either maintain your status or move up a status.
Right.
So I ended up playing in
That it makes it more competitive.
it does. I ended up playing in the 3rd division in France. My first year, it was really solid. Had a lot of fun. It's first time I got a chance to get paid. Wasn't much, but the fact that somebody was paying me to play basketball was still kind of crazy. Had my own spot out there. Teammates were cool. Basketball wise, I played really well. Went back over there again. Same division, the team, the area. Played extremely well again. All year, healthy. Led the team in scoring. Led the team in rebounding. And definitely enjoyed myself. I had the opportunity to go back a 3rd year. But I felt like I wasn't going to get the money that I thought I deserved.
Correct.
And then that's when it finally hit me like, hey, no matter what you do over here, your college resume is always going to, be more prevalent than whatever you're doing over here.
And that's the thing.
Yeah. So it's like, I played it was, I remember, I ran against a couple guys that like played at Clemson, played at, Cal State, played at Milan, Texas. Like there were guys over there, that I ran across that played in some pretty big programs. But like if you wanted to play in the A division, like, or the B division, even the B division, like you needed to have a very strong basketball resume. Like were you player of the year in your conference? Were you defensive player of the year in your conference? Were you one of the top Division I scorers in the nation or the conference? Like, okay, yeah, you were a role player at your school, but were you a role player at Duke or the final Sweet 16 team? Like, you a role player business? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like so I started to realize, all right, quick, like it don't matter what I do, I'm gonna have to be over here for a long time to get to the money that I think I deserve.
Yeah.
To play basketball over there. So, one, I made the decision to stop playing it. 2, if we were getting pregnant that summer, also like made me say, all right, well, it also doesn't make sense for me to go back over there. I need to like start figuring out how to build a career here and that foundation. Yeah, to support your family. Because there was a lot of dudes that I knew, go overseas for 10 years, come back over here, and it's like, it was hard for me to get a job, or it was hard for me to even break into like the tech industry with no work experience. Because when you play ball in college, there's no time for internships, so there's no time for all this other stuff to be even gaining experience. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I made the move. Shout out to Sammer for, putting me in a position to interview at his company and get a role.
Oh, so at that time, that job that you got was Sammer.
For sure.
Sammer Maserati. What's up, Sam?
For sure. And that goes back to the connectivity between teammates, and always going to be in there for the brotherhood because, who was pregnant. I remember leading up to my son being born, in February, like I was going job interview after job interview. I was working at a gym as a front desk receptionist with a master's, which goes to show you the degrees. That's don't mean nothing. Yep. But with a master's, working as a front desk receptionist, no work experience. I was working as a front desk receptionist, and I was going into DC to work at a nonprofit organization in the HR department. Just to try to like build out, just to have some like corporate experience on my resume too. I was doing that a couple times a week, front desk receptionist on the weekend, and then I finally like swallowed my pride and hit up, Sam, like, yo, I'm gonna shoot you my resume. Like, is there any way you could just help me with my resume? Is how I first pitched it to him, and he like touched up my resume, kind of walked me through some mock interview stuff, and he was like, look, if you want to work here, like I'll put your job. I will take your resume to my manager, and he doesn't refer people. So they took his referral serious. I went in there and killed the interview, and kind of the rest was history as far as like me getting my foot in the IT industry, and like blown through the door, learn more. And now I'm at a point where it's like, I'm sure we'll get into it quick, but now I'm at a point where it's like, hey, I learned enough. I'm ready to eventually start to do my own thing.
Yeah. Well, that's dope that Sammer did that, but not everybody be doing that. That's how I am, and that's how it should be for sure. Because people don't understand this. Basketball is a fraternity.
Yeah.
I got asked the other day, were you in a fraternity in college? I said I was. Weird, but it was basketball. It was really. I wasn't jumping off the houses and stuff like. Yeah, but yeah, man. So that's kind of dope. I wanted to ask you this question because I remember you getting your master's. Again, I told you you're smart.
No.
But I remember we had a conversation. Were you still getting your master's when you were overseas? Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. How did you kind of juggle that?
Well, I mean, at the time, I feel like online courses were really starting to like mature a little bit.
Yeah.
So I finished my master's overseas, online. So if I had to join a class, like my class might be, and again, I don't remember the exact details, but like it might be 11 p.m. or midnight in France, but whatever time it is over here, or it might be super early in the morning, later. So I would just have to wake up at weird times to join, office hours or certain hell of a time, bro. Yeah, but at the time, my thought process was like I still remember to this day, I downloaded Coinbase while I was overseas, and I remember looking at Bitcoin and looking at all this other stuff, thinking like Bitcoin had to be like in the hundreds.
A couple hundred, yeah. When I was looking at it, it was about 500.
Yeah, it had to be in the hundreds when I was looking at it. And if it wasn't the hundreds, it might have been like the twos or threes, but it was low. And I remember being overseas, and I had like some good money in my bank account. I was thinking, man, I should buy this stuff, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And my mom at the time, like, they were pushing heavy, like, yo, you need to get an education so that you can get a job.
Yeah.
Education, job versus. And again, they I feel like they were just trying to make sure I was straight.
Yeah.
But they didn't know a whole lot back then to understand like the power of homeownership, entrepreneurship, investing. So super important for sure. So the amount of time I spent like trying to write papers and get this master's degree, which in my opinion is like the bachelor's degree, you gotta like learn some stuff, or not learn stuff, but you gotta know stuff past exams. Like most master's degrees are just like endurance tests. Can you write these papers? Can you take these courses? Don't really teach you that. You're not teaching. It's just busy work. Can you knock out this busy work to get the degree? And so that this institution can make money off of you. Yeah. But yeah, I did it while I was overseas.
Yeah. I remember I forget what it was. Maybe I was texting you. I probably talked to you through Instagram or something. But I remember hearing that. I was like, wait, you doing what? That's a hell of a grind. Like you said, you got the different time zones. It's right there, day over here. You left for work. And so now, you got your master's for free?
No. So, so while I was in UNCG, my master's program was like, it ended up taking me 2.5 years to graduate. So my first year was paid for, was free.
Nice.
Year 2, I really didn't have to take out any loans, but didn't know no better.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
In my last year, didn't take out my last semester, didn't take out any loans.
Yeah.
Used some of the money that I had from playing overseas to pay for courses.
Yeah. It's the untold truth because, people don't understand that concept.
I know I didn't.
Yeah.
I made decent. I made decent money overseas, but my thought process was, I saw my mom, I saw my people was taking out student loans. I'm thinking that I didn't even know what a loan was.
Yeah.
I'm as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
That's only on 22. I didn't even know what a loan was.
Yeah.
Didn't know what a credit card was. Barely knew what a checking and savings account was. So me being overseas, filling out, I don't know, it was passport, whatever, financial aid information. I'm like, bet. The same way when we were at Delaware, we get, a refund check.
Yeah, the stipend.
Right. I'm like, all right, bet it. It's got me a smooth 5,000 on top of what I'm making and saving overseas. But okay, this semester I'm gonna get another 6,000. My D wanted that. You don't even know. You look up, you graduating, like, well, say, what? To who?
Yeah.
How much is that, babe? Man, I don't even got a job. Just go for it. So a lot of people to this day, family members of mine, close friends, like they have. I feel like they don't, like, when you really know, like, the capital society that we live in. Yeah, you're a successful businessman like yourself, an entrepreneur. Like, I'm trying to get there. Like, you start to really learn, like, through all year. Like, I tell people all the time, like, my children don't get academic or athletic scholarships. Like, I would much rather them go to a community college and I just get an associate's degree and then get into whatever school they need to get into, and let's figure out how to make sure they graduate with no debt, and make sure they're not going to school just to go to school. Like, but in my opinion, like, the way that AI is moving and the way that technology is moving, like, school is already being questioned. So if they don't change, like, the dynamics of the cost, the structure of school, I'm not 100% sure how education is even going to fare out in the future for all the children outside of it just being a networking experience.
Yeah.
There's also just like a pressure right there going on in America. Like, again, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, right? And people are always asking my children or talking to my children about college, and I'm for sure always, especially with my son right now at the age of 10, and he's really starting to, like, kind of grasp what's going on. It's like, hey, like, you go to college, cool. If you're doing cool, like, I'm going to make sure, God willing, if I'm here, I'm giving you what you need to be successful, because I think, again, I see it every day, like, whether it's family members of mine, close friends of mine, people I see, to your point, like, they can have all these degrees they want on the wall. Like, would you rather have 3 degrees and $200,000 of debt? Or would you rather have no degree and a multi-million-dollar business?
Right. Yeah. I'm along with the business every time, 100%.
Right. So it's the same thing where it's like, hey, we're getting into a space right now where, again, you went to college to network, to build a community, to learn. But if all the information I need is on YouTube and on my phone, to make money and build assets, what am I going to college for outside of the networking opportunity?
Yeah.
Because getting a degree and trying to get a job, there might not even be jobs in the future.
Yeah.
I think we're moving towards the future where everybody's going to have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Not to get on topic.
Yeah. No, this is the untold truth. Like, people got to start preparing for that,
For sure.
and I would even venture, I don't want to talk about, the history of America, but it is a thing. Like, as a Black man, it's harder to get a job, especially back when we were trying to get a job.
For the shooter, or interview.
Yeah, like, just entered.
Yeah.
You know how many applications I used to put out? And either didn't get an interview or was going for the interview. And then, I'm qualified. I know I could do it, obviously, right? But they choosing the other person because of, the color of their skin, so that's the thing. But like you said, it's like, for me, when it comes to education, the only reason why I went to school was because of basketball.
For sure.
Yeah. It's not gonna be,
Sure.
yeah. So, um, when it comes to school does have its benefits, but it's just like college basketball. It's a money making business here. They make money off of the students who don't know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, or fans, type of thing.
100%. Yeah.
So when the game slowed down, or your I guess career ended, what was the next step for you?
At the time, the next step was definitely trying to figure out how to make some money to be able to provide for this family I was about to have. Like, I feel like the transition was crazy fast. Like, one, I'm going through trying to figure out life without basketball. And then at the same time, I'm trying to figure out life, uh, with a fiance and a child on the way. You know what I mean? And then me and Ruth actually got married in the courthouse before KJ was even born. Okay, in December. Okay, and he was born in February. So, again, I feel like in the span of a year and a half, I went from playing basketball every day, still living and breathing basketball, to, trying to figure out how to be a husband and a father, which was crazy. I know it's an untold truth, so I'll definitely get into it. Like I experienced a different level of anxiety that I had never experienced in my life. For sure, like that the unknown. Oh my goodness, yeah, for sure. Like I'm having heart palpitations. I'm sweating at work. I'm, not able to sleep at night. Um, I was under so much stress and anxiety. We Ruth and I, we were living in one of the most expensive areas of America. Montgomery County in Maryland, with a child unable to pay, for groceries, rent, and childcare.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we're trying to literally figure out how to make sure, bills are paid,
Yeah,
and live and still like learn and grow together and fall in love together and enjoy our family. So I say this all the time, like, if there's one thing I wish, if there's for sure one thing I wish I could do, I wish I could go back in time during those moments where my son was so young and try to enjoy the chaos even more while I was with him, because I was just so focused on trying to get us out of the chaos, financial chaos.
Oh, I got you.
Like, for example, I look up, year and a half, 2 years have passed. About 2.5 years have passed, and I have been I had left my company, left sandwich company, and ended up getting like a $30,000 raise working at a different company. Okay, only a year and a half later to leave that company to get another $30,000 raise. Going back to the same company I was working for, and they moved me to Atlanta. So within a lot of people, like, the stress and chaos that I was under, but I don't mind saying it, like, it is what it is. Like, I went from making $50,000 a year to my first job to, in the span of 2.5 years, making 6 figures, but which is unheard of.
That's a huge jump.
Corporate America to look jump like that. But I felt like the ground was like, I gotta get these certifications. I gotta learn. I gotta jump jobs. I gotta figure out whatever I gotta do to start building some breathing room for my young family and moving us to Atlanta, a lower cost of living area. We were able to start thriving. Year after that, I was able to buy my first house.
Congrats on that, bro.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, just we were able to I was able to start putting away any money in my child's custodial account, start investing, like everything I've been wanting to do. Come back 2017, I was able to start doing just because, I grinded us out of that chaos with God's grace.
Yeah. Damn. I ain't know that was happening, as far as you being up in Maryland and going through, that I would call that hardship, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And again, this is the untold truth. And my thing is, you never know somebody's story until you actually sit down and talk to them about it, and that's why we're doing this. Now, y'all not still in the same house. You built a new house.
Yeah, we sold that house in Georgia. I built a house in North Carolina.
Did a house in North Carolina. Yeah. Okay, nice. That's what's up, man.
Yeah, no,
I'm so happy for you, dog. God bless. That's what's up. So you have a 10-year-old son now. 7-year-old daughter. What does it feel like to be a dad?
man, it's definitely. I mean, it's extremely enjoyable. I'll say I started by that. Like, it's extremely enjoyable. I feel like I don't even remember what life was like when I wasn't a dad.
Okay, you know what I mean? That's the first time me hearing that, and now that's a different perspective, right? That's how I know you invested in it.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. So, yeah, continue on that. I'm sorry.
No, sure. I don't even remember what it's like to not be. So, for example, you asked me like, 'cause I drove up here today, the kid with you, my
So again, he lives in North Carolina. Go up here today.
I figure anything for my guys. I had still hit to the day I met sure what. For real.
Yeah, we'll talk. It's okay.
But so last night, my kids were at the grandparents' house, and my wife is currently at a conference. So, I went to bed, with nobody in the house with me, and that felt weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody to clean up after, nobody to say turn on the lights.
Yeah.
Nobody that I felt like I had to like go do a quick, scan of the house and make sure all the doors were locked and make sure, firearms were readily accessible if something were to pop off. Like, it's just like a certain type of routine you got to go through, or that you are just invested in and going through when you have a family and children to take care of, or a wife to take care of. When you just by yourself, you like, I'm chilling.
I'm chilling. I'm gonna turn on this NBA. It's March Madness, right? I'm trying to show this game, and we just gonna rock out by myself again.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't even remember life without kids, but it's definitely a blessing. I feel like one of the major things that kids are teaching me right now is like not how fast life is moving, because I definitely feel like I live in a moment, but just like how truly important it is to be in a moment. Like, I'm looking at you right now with these gray hairs on your beard.
Notice that?
Yeah, yo, it's crazy. Like, well, I was just getting older. Like, we getting older. Like, and it's the same thing with my children, where it's like, I see my son getting so much taller and older. I see my daughter getting so much taller and older. So, half the time I don't even scroll through Instagram like that. Like, I'm just on my phone looking at old photos of them, or us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a blessing.
Yeah. That's what's up, bro. I always ask that question when it comes to fathers, but especially Black fathers, because for one, that's the stigma around being Black. The father's not there, but right, there's a lot of successful Black guys out here to begin with. You start with that, but successful Black guys, the fathers who are fathers, that are there for their family. So appreciate you being that. I guess that person that's going to set that standard, for sure. Not just for Black fathers, but for being a father. Period. That's very important.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
And speaking on that, y'all just won a tournament recently. Yeah,
We did.
let's talk about that.
Definitely, man. So I started a nonprofit in Hillsborough, North Carolina, called Hillsborough Basketball Academy. The goal of that nonprofit was to, provide accessible basketball opportunities for, children. Like, I just wanted to remove like the financial burden involved in travel sports or travel basketball, and I wanted to surround my son with like other like-minded kids.
Yeah.
So, I took my son to a basketball tryout for another AAU team before I started this program. And they were like, hey, it'll be $500 for, you and your son, especially if you coach, for him to play on our team. I was like, okay, that's for the season. Yeah. And he was like, but it's a mandatory 2 practices a week, mandatory 2 tournaments every single month. Yeah. So I'm like, whoa. And then I was like, well, how much for other kids? He was like, oh, it'll be $1,600, for other kids if you want them to join. Yeah. So again, you add up the 1,600, 6-month time frame, multiple practices a week. That's a lot of driving, multiple tournaments, tournament registration, tournament fees, parking fees, any other fee. Like, that stuff is going to add up quick. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, my son's in the 3rd grade. Like, I really don't want him practicing twice a week. But nor do I want him playing in tournaments twice a month. Because we've gone through what that hardwood does to our body. You got to be mindful of like how much you're on it. So I was like, I'm gonna start my own thing. And then I'm starting this nonprofit to like, one, make sure any money I'm collecting, I don't have to pay taxes on personally. So separated that from me. DJ and Fonz are actually board members of the nonprofit. Oh yeah. So they help. We kind of met. We continue to stay in contact. Just about the organization in itself. And then now we're also able to receive aid from others and provide tax write-offs and benefits to the individuals or other organizations that want to contribute. But we've been able to kind of like, last year we kept the dollar amount to $50 per month for the children participating in it. We practice once a week, we played in a tournament every now and then. But what I ended up doing, which is something unique in the travel basketball spaces, I reach out all the time, and I'm still doing this season. I reach out to other basketball programs to schedule scrimmages and exhibition games. Okay. So what does this do? So I might have a family with a single parent household, similar to how you had to come up, right? And instead of your mom trying to figure out, do I need to buy groceries for Josh and I, or do I need to pay $60 for this weekend tournament pass and $20 for parking, right? And however much the AAU costs. Like, I can now go to this exhibition game for free, and I'm not playing 3 games in one day, or 4 games in another day. Killing it. So what I'll do is I'll schedule exhibition games with local AAU teams, and we will play 8 quarters, man-to-man only, running clock. And what the 8 quarters does, we'll reset the score to 0-0. Yeah. So it like removes kids from having to focus on who's winning or not, and just focus on pure development and get better. Yeah. And it allows everybody to play a couple minutes. So if I got 10 kids on my team, 8 quarters, I'm not just running with the starting 5. Everybody's playing and getting better at this age group, which is the most important thing. But long story short, we've been practicing in the building. We won our first kind of big tournament in North Carolina this past weekend, the Phenom Hoops event. My son was on the all-tournament team. It was just a really good experience. Yeah.
That's all I know on Instagram. We had to repost that now. Especially continue to speaking on life after basketball. You're a solutions architect. Talk about that. Talk about your expertise on being a solutions architect.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, quick background. I entered into the IT space more as just supporting the software, whether that meant like understanding how best to use it, like you're using Final Cut, right? So if somebody had an issue with Final Cut, they could call in, not necessarily help desk, but like how best to use it. I also started learning how to like write requirements, how to test products before they, ultimately got shipped up to customers. So I learned a lot of like sales, front-end support, back-end support, et cetera. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I took a 14-week boot camp to learn more about, actual programming, coding, development, learning different software, programming languages, learning how to leverage different, back-end databases. And then like I say, when there was about 3 to 4 weeks left, Claude Code and, You know, all of these AI assistant coding tools, Windsurf had came out and really like completely took over what coding and programming even looks like. But, you know, in general, you know, my experience with software, I know, you know, everything from sales to backend to cloud architecture, all that plus AI, I can pretty much come up with a solution for any problem that somebody gives me as a solutions architect with software. So
Yeah.
if you have an issue with, you know, taking in calls and say you have one phone, say you don't necessarily want to hire a virtual assistant or somebody to do something for you, you got to train that person, manage that person. That person may get sick, may take time off, and then you're back answering calls to determine whether or not you should move forward with this customer or not. But I would come up with a solution that's software focused to say, hey, can we build an AI voice assistant that can intake calls, answer any question that a potential customer may have the way that you would, or the way that a virtual assistant would.
Yeah.
You change out the voice to how you want it, so on and so forth, and basically solve that problem for you or your business.
Yeah.
Using software, because now instead of you hiring a virtual assistant that's a human, I can have a 24/7 AI voice assistant for you, answering calls, taking in requests, scheduling meetings, intaking information, submitting it into a form, doing whatever we need during that initial intake process for you as a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds to me like you are able to, pretty much help out anybody that's having any issues online.
For sure. Any issues they have in their business, I can come up with a solution, that can be like packaged just for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I had mentioned, us possibly doing business in the Philippines with a virtual assistant, and now you got my mind thinking otherwise. For sure. But speaking on your expertise in that field, what other business adventures are you getting into?
I mean, in the space right now, with everything that's going on in AI, and just software in general, like, the same way, people can come up with a podcast, and there's a lot of information out there on how best to start a podcast and do a podcast, and you're doing it extremely professional. And
Yeah, I appreciate it.
you know what I'm saying? So, that same kind of experience and expertise is out there right now on how to like build software applications, or build apps, copy apps. There was a person that recently like copied how Google Maps works. But, you know what I'm saying? It took probably millions of dollars to build and develop what somebody was able to kind of do by themselves. Right. Same with like Palantir and all these other companies. So, I say that to say I've been trying to like work with a small team of friends, but also engineers. And we've just kind of been in an exploratory phase right now, just kind of figuring out like what can we potentially build and bring to the marketplace, or for a specific niche that their customers want, the users are asking for. We're not trying to make any money right now off of what we're building, but just kind of going through that experience outside of work hours, developing something with friends and seeing this is something that we could package and ship, and see how well it can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congrats to y'all for starting the process on that. It always starts with an idea, for sure, but when it comes to opening the business, it starts with the idea, but then in order to get to that next level, you got to actually follow through with it, right? It sounds to me like y'all are in the works of doing that. One thing that I kind of also, take from that is the fact that, you have, some very smart, like-minded people in the same room together and kind of feeding off of each other. And that's one thing that we're going to be doing for the Untold Truth. Anybody that has been on the podcast, whether you're from out of town or locally here in Richmond, we'll be getting together on a quarterly basis. So, just to, bounce ideas off of each other, maybe doing some business together, like me and you may be doing here in the near future. But when it comes to being an architect solutions person, and again, being in that workspace where, whatever you have going on dealing with the internet, I can fix that for you, and that's like you said before, the way that the world is going, it's going to be a lot of people losing their jobs here soon.
Sure.
And if you are able to enter a space where, first of all, I think mental health is always been around, right? Yeah. In fact, when that does happen, it's going to probably work seven. I probably be having more clients here, so
Yeah, sure.
but that's a good space to get into. But what you're doing is also a good space to get into because, again, first of all, not everybody's tech savvy like that. But for one, that's for one. But two, again, if you have the business that's going to propel yourself into the AI world, then you're on the right trajectory. I appreciate that. Yes, sir. So transitioning to being a husband, I know that's people think that it is easy and it's not. Yeah. It is a, I'm not going to call it a job, but it is something that you gotta be put effort towards. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one of the most difficult parts about being a husband or just being a husband in general or being in a relationship is that like you never want the relationship to be like transactional.
Yeah.
You kind of want to do for this person as they would do as you would do for yourself. You know what I mean? So trying to keep that mindset of like, in God's eyes, we're one. How can I support this person, whether they're supporting me or not? It's definitely something that I feel like I had to learn. Or if Ruth's glass if she can only give 25% a day, can I give the other 75% of the family needs? And same thing, if I can only get 25, if she gets 75, it's not always going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of Ruth and I's, and there is anything that we, continue to grow and struggle on, or not struggle on, but just grow on, is like being married is one thing, but then being married with kids is also a whole nother grind too, because it's like our parenting styles are so different. But I'm militant. She's not, and I've had to like, she's way over here on the polar opposite of like, warm, soft, fuzzy, and loving, and I was way over here initially. Like I've had to like come over here to her, and she's had to move a little bit to me to like for us to just be better parents, and not always have that be a friction when we in our relationship.
Yeah. To your point, just recently, my dog, he's a Great Dane, 2 years old, he's still in that puppy phase. And so he's struggling with listening, but at the same time, he respects me a lot more than he respects Claire. And my thing is, I had to tell Claire, like, it's time to get a little bit more disciplined with him. But on my end, is more so of I got to be a little bit more nurturing with him. And instead of buzzing them or yelling at them and stuff. It's okay to go over to him. Josh is okay to go over to him and say, hey, don't go drink the puddle outside, that type of thing. So I definitely get where you're coming from for that aspect, for sure. Yeah. Wrapping up here, I see you wearing Hate is Love. What exactly does that mean to you?
For sure. First of all, shout out my guy Nuke.
Yeah.
From Virginia, this is his clothing line.
Okay.
Believe in yourself. There's a lot of good pieces. For me, I feel like Hate is Love is like, there's a lot of people that genuinely hate on people for no reason. I think one of the things I just want to highlight, on the camera and about being recorded is that like, you being the type of person you are, I've never heard you talk about a teammate, friends, anybody behind their backs. We joke around a lot, but it's with somebody that's in our space.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's in the room. I don't talk about people behind their backs and vice versa. And it's like, whether it be men or females, people that are like always talking about somebody else in a negative way.
Right. Yeah.
That's just something I don't get.
Yeah.
So whether you are hating on somebody or loving on somebody, like you giving energy to somebody, so yeah, like, yeah. So, I mean, how did you, because me personally, I feel like I've seen you deal with a lot of hate and a lot of haters.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Like you've always kind of kept this like Dennis Rodman, like I'm for real, like nah, it's real Dennis Rodman, like I'm gonna be myself and I'm gonna do what I like to do.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do what I want to do, regardless of what others think about me. Like, so that's an extremely strong mindset to have.
Yeah.
And you had that when we was 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you where it come from. It come from growing up in a space where I was always, it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
It come from growing up in a space where I was the outcast I was just talking to Claire about this the other day. I was an outcast. And what I mean by that is, growing up in the church, growing up in my first girlfriend in elementary school, she said yes to me because that was a bet. That was a bet, it was a little $5. I bet you I can get, ask Josh out. He said yes. It was that type of shit for me.
It wasn't even real.
It wasn't real, or it would be a clique of kids over there in the corner. And then, they laughing and joking, at me, and that can really mess you up as a kid, for sure. But for me, what I eventually realized is that they the whack ones. I'm the one that's legit.
Yeah.
Yourself. So I'm myself. I may be a little bit different from y'all, but guess what? I'm here with it. I see everything. So in answer to your question, that's where it comes from. That's where it stems from, and I still keep that fire in me today. And whenever I just had a situation yesterday, and I'm not gonna get to that, but what I will say is this: I mean, it don't matter what you say about me. It's just gonna make me that much more fired up. Yeah, to the point where I'm gonna be at the gym. And I want to hear your voice or your text message that you send me and say, fuck you, Josh, all this other shit. And I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, that's down. Now I'm ready to go work out time. Now it's go time. Now I can run these 3 to 5 miles and not feel it then, or, boost the revenue. Okay, starting the podcast. Even down to the point where last year or the year before that, we didn't do as good revenue wise, kind of dip. I bet next year, okay, now I got a chip on my shoulder. So that's where it come from. That's where it come from. And it's, well, I appreciate you asking that question. And nobody has asked me a question yet. So I appreciate that in its own sense. But, it's that type of shit for me. And excuse my French, but it's that type of shit for me where it's like, I try to project that onto other people because I know other people are out there struggling, like personally, internally. And it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be Kelvin McNeil. It's okay to be Josh Brinkley. It's okay to be Claire Abel, now known as Claire Brinkley. Yeah. And so that again, that's where it comes from, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely always admire that about you. Kind of confidence you have in yourself.
Yeah.
Regardless of, what's going on, what people want to, like you said, click up, or what people collectively think is cool at that time.
Yeah.
You being yourself under all circumstances is super dope. And like I said, to highlight, like, you being a man you being a man of high integrity and not speaking negatively about others. But it's something I know I take into account and said that I've seen firsthand in all my interactions with you as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that, bro. Because I live by that. My thing is I'm trying to uplift people. I'm not trying to bring them down. Right? That's somebody else said on their podcast. The only reason why you should look down on somebody is if you're helping them up. And that resonates with me because that's just who I am as a person. I was told that I'm a narcissist. Nah. How can I be a narcissist if both of my businesses that I have are to help people? That doesn't make any sense. So again, that's where it comes from, and I'm always trying to help the next person, or on the opposite end, learn from the next person. It's very important in life. This is the only reason why I'm successful, because I've learned from who's done it before me. Or to somebody else said on the podcast, when you help somebody, guess what comes after that? Yeah, success. That's that's just how it works, bro. So you gotta be fired up. Well, yeah, like I said, man, I appreciate you definitely asking me that because, perception is everything.
Yeah.
And people that really do truly know me know that I ain't that at all. Last question here. What's one untold truth you would like to tell the audience?
Like, one untold truth I definitely like to tell the audience is like, I would say to just, give your parents grace. I think for me, as I started to become an adult, I was like not being negative towards my parents, but like my thought process was like, damn, like why didn't they know about this? Or why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And they just like I am. They were just growing up. They want to figure it out themselves and make the best situation out of what they could. So just being forgiving of your parents, I think is definitely an untold truth that a lot of people, especially our age in their mid-30s, 30s, even in their 40s, are still trying to cope with. Whether that's your father or your mom, whether they together or not, that they are humans as well and just a little older than you are, but they're trying to figure this thing out. In a different time, and at different times. Like, so just give them grace. I think it's an untold truth of mine. And
Yeah. For me, that's kind of crazy that you say that because I haven't talked to my dad in probably over 6 to 8 months.
wow, I remember y'all had like rekindled at one point.
Yeah, we had rekindled, and that is very important, and I agree with it to a certain extent. You know, and I don't want to shoot what you said down, but the only thing I would say on the opposite of that is you got to protect yourself for sure. And that would be my untold truth in response to that. But I do agree with that because people who have parents that genuinely, care, that genuinely are there for them without any type of, I guess what you call it, I'm doing this because I want something in return, so that's, I don't want to talk about anybody specifically in my family like that, but unfortunately that's just, first of all, it's human nature.
It is.
It's just that, some of my family members have exploited it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on that sense because, again, parents are going through this for the first time, and so just giving them grace and understanding that, first of all, we're still the kid in the situation, so yeah, it's very important to remember that. But appreciate you coming on today, dog.
Yes, sir. I'm doing real.
Love you too, bro. You heard it here first. Kelvin McNeil, from the 757. Currently, yes, sir. Currently living in North Carolina. But he's a good guy to start with, and husband first, father first. I will be giving him business. That's what I'm about, sharing that wealth there. So appreciate y'all watching, and thanks for coming and viewing the Untold Truth. We'll talk to you next time.
Appreciate y'all.
It is to be like you. How cruel. It is to be like you.
Damn, Sweezy.